This is episode number 372, WP Water Cooler, Cloudflare APO for WordPress. This episode is brought to you by Serverpress, Maker's Desktop Server. They make local WordPress development easy. Check them out at serverpress.com. Feel free to go take a look at our show and all the different shows that are on our network. Go over to WPWaterCooler.com, check them out. If you want to sponsor or help us out on Patreon, go to patreon.com/WPWaterCooler. Hit the little subscribe button, click the little bell so you'll be notified when we go live like we did just now. And if you're following us on Facebook or wherever else, you know, we're pushing this stuff out all the places. So good morning, everyone. How you doing today?
Yo. What's up?
Hey. So Say in her wisdom stated, what is Cloudflare?
Hey, no, that was pre-show, and I was joking. I know what Cloudflare is. That was a joke, but also
according to Wikipedia.
Cloudflare. So Cloudflare recently put out a statement saying that they're going to be launching this this new APO system, and they're going to be doing this for all the different applications that are out there, which is an automatic platform optimization.
Okay, so I was going to ask what APO was. I was like, wait, is that like a new API that I missed somehow?
Well, I thought I would be the smart one this time instead of Steve reading from a website, so I thought I would be the one that reads it.
Don't reveal my secrets, dude. It's all up here. It's all right here.
Yeah, he just has it on memory.
Poor guy, can't remember his own kids' names, but hey,
That's true.
whatever.
It's so true.
So one of the features of it, and I actually just went and installed it and got it all set up on WP Water Cooler just to check it out, because in the past episodes we had some guests on who were looking at WP Water Cooler, and they're like, have you ever ran a speed test on this thing? And I was like, yes, I have. And they're like, well,
a couple of years ago.
Have you ever looked to see what the heck's wrong with it? And I'm like, oh, I know what's wrong with it, and there's a lot wrong with it. So I thought what I would do is do what a typical person would do: is a new thing would come out, I'd click on the button and say install it. I'd give them $5. I'd hit the go button, and like Cosper was saying, is it a silver bullet or not?
Oh, I like this. Can we call it the silver bullet test? Have we ever tested that before? I like that. Like, just do it like super, no customization, just out of the box, see if something works.
Oh, I thought you were talking about drinking a Coors Light.
Winning HP, right?
I was going to say before we go there, I was going to say if you want to run a similar test to what Jason was looking at, right? One of the sites that I highly recommend.
Working up your site.
Right. One of the sites that I highly recommend is web.dev. So web.dev. Right?
Wait, how do you spell web? Web?
W-E-B.
Okay.
I just in case I spelled it just because in case you couldn't hear what I was saying.
Okay.
So web.dev will give you a pretty comprehensive report on what's going on with your website, but it will also break down in plain English, what the issues are. And so the APO addresses. I know we're going to talk about some of these things, but it addresses things like time to first byte, first contentful paint, speed index, right? And so this measuring tool, web.dev, will give you, at least it'll tell you what's going on your website so that you know what you're addressing.
How is this different than the Google Page Speed?
So this is more comprehensive than Google PageSpeed Insights. So Google PageSpeed Insights gives you, really talks about performance. Right. This also gives you accessibility best practices in SEO. This is basically the front end of what's called Lighthouse. Right. So Google's measuring tool for this stuff is called Lighthouse. You can also do this inside of the Chrome inspection tools. Right. So if you are a developer, this is just available for you inside of the Chrome tools. You can go into Lighthouse and generate a report. But if you're not, this will give you some good insights as to what's going on your website.
So SEO does not speed up your website, apparently. Huh. Who would have thought?
I did not. How long has this
Cosper?
been in developer? Like, I literally did not. I don't ever look at that to be like, what's new in developer this week? Like, I don't do that enough, apparently.
Cosper?
Now, I was also going to mention that Lighthouse is available for Firefox if you are a Firefox user. So the Chrome team has done a really good job of making that tool available, just not on on more than just Chrome. So,
It's right.
Jason, pull up that screenshot again.
Now,
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
So when I'm doing site analyses, and I know I don't want to take too much time here, but those things in the box right underneath the scores, those are those are some of the first things I look at, right? Say
No, I'm just like Steve's like you read the box.
I do.
Steve,
So you're getting
Steve, let me help you
right
out.
there.
Steve, let me help
You
you out
read the
real quick.
words in the box.
Not there, right?
There you
Next,
go, Steve.
right there. So you're getting pretty negative marks on your time to interactive and your largest contentful paint, and as well as your speed index, right? And so APO is going to address these things head on.
I just used largest contentful paint in a report to give to someone to present at a strategic planning meeting. And they were like, what? And I'm like, new fun term. You have to tell everybody that doesn't mean anything to anyone who's not developing things.
So it actually does mean something, right? So
No,
largest
I think it
contentful,
means
yeah,
something.
I
just
understand.
saying, like,
But the
you
reason why
say
it's
that
important
random people and they're like, why can't I have my giant picture on the front? And you're like,
yes.
largest contentful paint? And they're like,
and LCP is new, right? So LCP was introduced into the this indexing in late May of this year, so it's very new. And so anybody that has a large hero image at the top of your top of the site automatically gets dinged on the LCP score, right? And if you haven't changed your site for years, you were affected as soon as Google turned on this part of the algorithm, and it happened in late May, early June.
I've been having fun telling all of my clients that we're doing new designs for that they can't have hero images anymore. It's a fun conversation. And then explaining it when not everyone is caught on and everyone's design aesthetics are 5 years old. And you're like, no, but you can't have this anymore because accessibility, because largest contentful paint. And they're like, what are your words that you're saying to me?
So the New York Times, when right before LCP score changed, the New York Times changed their article pages. They took their feature image off the top of the article page. They moved it down to about halfway down the article page, right? So the page just starts with a headline and text, and then the feature image is below the fold. So that LCP score only affects stuff that's above the fold. Right. And so if you read the New York Times and notice this change, that is why they made that change.
Also, you're a geek if that happened. I just want you to know. That's not a bad thing. I'm just telling you that you are. And there
actually is a quick way around this. I know we're off on a tangent, but Jason, if you pull up realestateshows.com, I'll show you. There actually is a way to do a hero image and get around the LCP score.
Oh, this was what we talked about last time. I asked if there was a way to get around this.
There is.
There was no answer. And now you have an answer for me?
I do. I have an answer for you. So
I never have to do any research.
So if you put the image in a box sitting next to a headline like this, rather than have it covering the entire background or bleeding off the edges, this helps to improve that LCP score because we're using a much smaller size image.
Smaller?
That's it. The other thing we did, if you go to Zeek.com really quick, is we had a large image in the background of the hero. Yeah, I know. I'm tooting my own horn here, but in the background of the "We Believe the Future of Computing," right? We actually had a picture of a guy drawing out a schematic, right? And it was a very large image. The LCP algorithm dinged us about 25 points just for having that image. So what we did is we just replaced it with an SVG background.
Can we talk about how much better that looks than the screened out picture too? Like this looks so cool. Like this looks cool and crisp, and you don't have to worry about having any sort of type of demographic in a picture. Like it cuts down on so many other issues to just really focus on that. Plus, you get your main message right there. Like this is a better design approach than the horrible hero with image on it.
It also improves your ADA compliance scores.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It literally improves everything. Like
all
so.
Right. I'm done with my tangents.
So one of the things that they mentioned in this, which is interesting to me, is that they Cloudflare's Edge network will cache third-party fonts, which I think is pretty interesting.
Third-party Fox is what I heard.
Fonts.
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 It's the weird accent. My apologies. I'll make sure I use a long.
It's all right. I'm in a spelling mood today. So.
Yeah, he's just gonna spell stuff out. It's fine.
So
COSPER? Do you have a POINT?
So for me to be able to install this and kind of get it set up, I already had Cloudflare set up. I already had Cloudflare working on the site. I went onto the homepage or the page for Cloudflare on my site, and I went and clicked on the apply recommended Cloudflare settings for WordPress. And then after that, I clicked the little on button that turns on the automatic platform optimization. And then I cleared the cache just because. I mean, it's the 3 things that are on the page. I might as well do all 3 of them. And then before I did all of that, I ran a test to give me what my scores were going to be, so I can kind of do a comparison live on the show. And the thing is like, I know that the site has issues, and I'm okay with showing you guys this because it is what it is.
Oof.
But looking, look, I believe this is before I ran it. I mean, the numbers don't change. Yeah, okay. So no, this is before I ran it. So I ran this first. So I had 7.4 seconds. And then if I go down here, I have 6.1 seconds. So that's good. I mean, it's gooder.
It's better. It's gooder. Gooder.
Right. And then I
He really is going to spell everything.
So I also did one over here on Pingdom, just so I can run a test on this as well, just to kind of see what the differences were. So I got a 62 over here and a 62 over here. So there was no change there. I also did a Google Insights test as well, and I got a 14 and a 16. So
part of the reason those aren't changing is probably related to third-party scripts and images, right?
Yeah.
So your design didn't change, even though you added the stuff. Your design didn't change, and your third-party scripts aren't affected by this. So that's why your scores aren't changing that much.
Yeah,
really,
and
third-party scripts are like the death knell for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I wanted to run this so that way we could at least take a look and see like what happens when you throw $5 at a problem.
Nothing.
It doesn't
No,
do anything.
you got 2 points. No, you got 2 points.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
but
that's
that's
what
like
you're writing
changing your
home
air-
about. You're like,
that's
my
like
score's 16 now. Yay, I'm so excited.
It's like changing your air filter in your car, and it's the exact same everything. It's just not a dirty one now. So like that's pretty much all that happened. I got like 1 horsepower out of it.
yeah,
All right.
it's
I mean, I support that analogy.
I grew up in Orange County, and around the time of people tuning their Honda Civics and stuff like that, and a joke around that, and Jason, you'll probably be familiar with it if you tuned your Honda Civic, was that every sticker adds how many horsepower? Was it half a horsepower, or was it a full horsepower?
We claimed 5 because it made it easier because it's a Honda, so you only start with 100 anyhow. So you might as well go up
So
from there.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you just added 5 horsepower because you slapped a sticker on it.
Exactly.
Basically.
But I mean, I looked at the waterfall because you were kind enough to share this stuff beforehand, the waterfall on GT Metrics, and you shaved about 90 milliseconds off of your initial load, which is good. I mean, that's definitely a positive. Where's the WP water cooler site hosted right now? WP Engine?
Yeah, WP Engine.
Okay. So WP Engine, like, they have optimizations in place that already make the site pretty fast. If you were hosting the site someplace like Bluehost, I mean, I'm sorry that those words even came out of my mouth, but
Yeah, what the hell?
yeah.
Just say an EIG property and
Yes,
you know.
HostGator.
Hashtag sponsored. Okay.
Gator.
Right. So if you were hosting your site at a kind of bargain basement, cheap host, you might actually have a much bigger impact than this, and that could actually be a net positive for someone who's only paying no more than $5 or $10 a month for hosting. Throw another $5 at it, and it keeps you from having to upgrade to a managed host like WP Engine. So, I mean, this can be a net positive for some folks, but if you have to do work on your website, throwing this APO, the Cloudflare APO, at a site on a managed host might not do much, and that's like kind of proof positive here. There's some pretty glowing reviews in the WP Tavern article, in a few other places that have talked about it, but that's still, that doesn't mean much for somebody who actually needs to make some improvements. Maybe we have a future show that we can do around just helping Jason improve the water cooler website.
Well, so this is basically just like the Cloudflare difference, whatever, right? So what is, would you, that to me doesn't seem like it's worth it. It's not giving you right out of the box anything, but are there ways that you could optimize that service to make it better? Or is it just that's what you're going to get and you have to redo, stuff on your site anyway? Or, what, like you can't, like what you want to avoid, I'm assuming, is you stack your Cloudflare on top of your other plugin to make stuff faster on top of your whatever else you got going on. So like if Cloudflare and just turning that on doesn't really do anything, I mean, at the end of the day, what we're talking about is you really have to go in there and make the actual changes, right? Like,
you asked a lot of questions there. Double the caching, it does not equal double the speed. As a matter of fact, double the caching is actually bad, right? So you don't want to double up caching. You don't want to double up CDN, right? Just like you don't want to have 2 SEO plugins, right? 2 SEO plugins does not equal double SEO.
What?
Right? So yeah, I know, it's crazy talk.
So wait, 1 + 1 does not equal 2
not in this case,
okay.
No, right? But these platforms, like caching platforms, actually can conflict with each other, right? And so you want to be careful there. But to answer your broader question, right? Things like these speed indexes, largest contentful paint, anything that's factoring into your page speed score, it's going to take a combination of things to really address that if your score is in the dumps. That's just the way it is, right? And what we're really talking about here, the APO platform addresses server issues, load time, right? So as Casper said, if you're with a good managed host, WP Engine, a Nexus, host that has really strong caching built in, these things aren't going to have much of an effect because you're already benefiting from what the host is putting in place for you.
I think that's ironic because it seems like the people that would
don't you think
Cloudflare. Yeah, I'm doing my information. But the people who would purchase a Cloudflare or service, or really even have that on their radar, are more likely to be the people who would be on a managed host, right? Like I would think so. If you're like super cheap and you're like maintaining a super cheap server, then are you really looking at like additional CDN type stuff to speed up your site? It just seems like
if $5 a month is double what you're paying in hosting, right? Then you're probably on the wrong host to begin with.
Well, right, that's what I'm saying. So, like, is this just optimizing trash? Is this
yes.
what I mean? Like, essentially, that's what we're talking about, right? So it's like, is the advice really ever keep your trash server, but add Cloudflare or this new service?
Well, you're getting CDN to it. You're getting a whole bunch of extra stuff. Like, for instance, I already had the CDN enabled, like that, just by using Cloudflare, that was already turned on. So at least those things are starting to use that piece. With this extra $5, they're doing edge caching. They're doing caching of essentially making your page static as much as it can. The hard part is when you have things that are dynamic, that you're going to have updated, and if you didn't build it the way that it needs to, hopefully with like JavaScript or jQuery or what have you, that's going to help you out a little bit. But when it's something straight up on the page, you're going to end up having some issues.
Well, okay, so you know who benefits really from this Cloudflare APO is like I said, the cheap hosts, the ones where
the EIG owned.
It is in their interest, to basically turn around and tell their customers who are like, oh, I'm having problems here. You can bet your ass that, and that's ASS, Steve.
Thank you.
You can bet your ass.
Real quick on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I thought it was ARSE, but I'm just, British.
If you're Irish.
Yeah.
Right. So you can bet your arse that Bluehost, that HostGator, that 1&1, that GoDaddy, even though they have a managed product that they can push now, They want to do everything they can to keep you on their shitty hosting. And basically, you can bet your ass. You can bet your ass that their support already has something that they said, hey, you know, Cloudflare has this thing that for $5 extra you can turn on and it'll make your site performance better.
Don't go looking at there because they take a $2 chunk.
Right.
Well,
but don't go looking at another host. Stay here. Don't go looking at WP Engine before you start. Don't go looking at Nexus. Don't go looking at Kinsta before you go anywhere. Let's try this first.
I mean, that's like the SiteLock solution, which doesn't work either. Yeah, they're like, just slap all this stuff on your shitty server.
But I agree with everything you said, but let me give a counter argument, okay? Right? Ooh. So the way to think about Cloudflare, right, is Cloudflare is essentially what's being served off the CDN. It's doing your caching, right? Your website, in that case, if you have Cloudflare in front of a shitty website, right, your website is the source.
Wait,
right?
website or shitty server?
It's not both, right?
Okay. That you can double up on, and it does
yes,
do.
Right? And so all that is the source, right? And so what I mean is the way a CDN works is the first time a page is called or a resource is called, it calls from the source and it may load slowly. As soon as that happens, it then goes into cache. So that at that point, it's being served from Cloudflare. So if your $2 website or your free website that you got from one of these services is merely acting as your source, and Cloudflare is really, you know, what is your speedy host, that's fine, right? It's okay. I'm not saying it's what I would do, right? But if you're thinking of it in that terms and it's just your source, it does work.
It does, and I will say this. I will give this to the Cloudflare APO. One of the nice things about it is it actually broadens your audience as far as like a quick site goes. Because of Cloudflare and their global coverage, your site will be as fast in Kathmandu as it will in Temecula.
I often browse in Kathmandu.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say like it had some weird marketing aspect to it. They're like, it has caching and a network that's promoting to people. That's just WordPress. Never mind.
It's because it's what Casper's saying is because it's CDN, you're going to get served from a server that's close to you, right? So there's no latency.
Right. So that's great in theory for, you know, global businesses. That's good.
Well, if you're this all gets thrown out the window if you're doing something like a dynamic site, say WooCommerce, say anything actually selling a product or having to serve a dynamic page. APO doesn't mean crap.
What I tell my clients in that case is as soon as you introduce a login, right, your cache is done, right? You're no longer cached. So you do at that point need a strong server because you're always coming from source and you're bypassing the caching of the CDN.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, to go to
on the inside, but on the outside you could still be using the cache, right?
Absolutely. Your marketing site, right?
Yeah,
so your marketing site absolutely is going to benefit from the cache. But as soon as somebody's got to log in, e-commerce membership, subscription, any of that stuff.
Who cares? You already have those people's money. Just kidding.
But at that point, you do need to be on a fast server.
Yeah.
I mean, like this argument that is like, yeah, use this if you're on, like, but just don't stay on the shitty server. Like, why are we saying that to people? Like, just because people are stubborn and don't want to move?
I need a place to put my cat blog. I'm not making any revenue from that. Right?
I don't even believe that
my cat
blog should be on there.
My cat blog's just a hobby for me. I'm not getting any revenue, right?
Then
so
I'm going to
use my free hosting. There's plenty of them out there.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna say like, if it's like, okay, you just need a shitty server, I use WordPress.com. Like, what is the?
I don't personally have a cat blog. I have a ferret blog, but same difference.
Yeah, I feel like it's like mixed demographics still. Like the people who are on that, you know, old self-hosted site are not the people who are optimizing with Cloudflare APO. So it seems to me like there's a I mean, and obviously Cloudflare's probably done some business analysis. It's possible, but it doesn't seem to me like those are the same target markets. Like it doesn't seem to be
right.
the right overlap there.
You're right. There's a gap, right? There's a gap. People who are doing this as a hobby aren't even going to understand what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Well, and
so like,
Cloudflare APO is right now it's only for WordPress. But you look on their website and all of their marketing tools say this is the first application that we're going to be applying this to. Whatever the next one is what they're going to end up doing next. So I can see where, like, if they were to find a way to essentially turn this into yet another checkbox that you throw at on your web host, and it just says like, we'll optimize your thing for $3, and then the web host, kind of gets a little bit of an extra deal, then what's the big deal? But I always go back to what you say is the fact that somebody has to go through and do a couple of hoop jumps to get to this point. So for me, I had to like install a plugin for Cloudflare, which meant I'd had to set up Cloudflare, which meant I had to set up DNS.
Which is not a simple thing.
No, I mean, the three of us, not Steve, but the three of us could do this in our sleep. So
but again, cat blog person, which is who this is marketed at, like, are they even doing it? Or at what point are you just like, are you hiring a developer to install Cloudflare, or are you hiring a developer to optimize your site properly so it loads separately anyway? Like, in terms of advice we are giving to people, I would say hire the developer to fix your site so that the site doesn't have a problem, not just slap another solution in between your site and the web at large. Like, that to me seems like, if you're going to do this solution, I mean, I guess a developer obviously costs more than $5 a month, but that's just the add-on price anyway, right? I don't know. Sure. I'm not sold on this service because I'm not either.
Which is why I was like, I'll spend the 3 minutes to go throw this in here. Let's see what happens. And
it seems to me like it's one of those instances where it's like capitalizing on people who are just going to keep throwing $5 at something, and they'll keep throwing $5 at something until they're paying $100 a month in all these different services, when they could just pay, $150 and get totally optimized servers. Like, it's that type of thing. That's what it feels like to me. Like, subscriptions that you forget about. Like when you signed up for Hulu and it was free for the first month, and then you're like, I still subscribe to Hulu, like that.
So there are services for that let you know if you're paying for stuff that you're not using.
Is there one for web stuff?
I don't know.
Or is it just for cable? Because I need that.
Sorry,
that's too many things. I need that service. Sorry, go on.
To touch on a couple things. I know that basically, there are some hoops you have to jump through right now, but I remember shortly after Cloudflare became a thing, that DreamHost had a one-click button that you could hit and basically put Cloudflare on your site. It handled all the DNS stuff and everything else. It wouldn't surprise me if these inexpensive and cheap and crappy hosts turned around and had a button you could hit to help you turn this on.
I don't think DreamHost is a crappy host. I would like to put that.
No. I don't think
that they're those two together.
They're inexpensive, but they're not crappy.
No, they're not crappy. They're not that. Well, I guess they have the shared stuff too. So
also, to touch on another thing, since we only have a minute and a half here, you talk about, and this is to go completely off topic, you talked about, do we have those services to let you know that you're still paying for something? I use this thing, it's called privacy.com. It basically creates virtual credit cards that are single use that get tied to a particular service. So I have Hulu on a privacy card. I have this on. So, and then basically after, if I ever want to cancel my service, I can cancel my service. But if they make me jump through too many hoops, I can cancel my privacy card.
That card.
I've actually been getting clients paying me recently through one-use credit cards, right? That's how they do. It's what they're doing now instead of EFTs. I'm very familiar with this.
Clients. Wow. I don't know what they're paying you for.
No, we're talking about large transactions. We're not talking about talking about small transactions, but single-use credit cards has become a thing this year.
Huh. I wonder what that's about. Besides just the being able to cancel your stuff, it's just a safety security measure.
I assume so. Yeah.
Well, I started using the service about 2 years ago after the Target leaks, So it was one of those things where it was like, okay, so now it's, and the nice thing is it's tied to a single vendor. So I can say if that card is burnt, I don't have to reset the attached card to everything else. It's so nice. It's a free service. I'm sure that they're, selling your data to some
alarm bells.
Right.
Any potential prospects that are listening to this, there's a 3% fee for me taking credit cards because I have to pay those fees to the credit card company.
Yeah. Oh,
just a caveat.
And with that, we have the end of the show. I want to say thank you very much for all of you for coming and hanging out and looking at what $5 gets you. So it's good to work through that. So here we go. Here's our outro. You have a good one. Go help us out on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/WP Watercooler. We'd really appreciate that. And here's the fine folks that helped us out this week. We really appreciate their efforts. Thank you very much. Hit the little subscribe button, click the bell, as I said earlier. I said that twice. Check that out. And you can check out all of the different ways in which you can watch our shows and listen to our shows if you want to listen to us on the podcast. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, as well as Spotify. So thank you very much. You guys have a good rest of your day. Talk to you later.
Hey!
Hey!